What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets Haber. We're going to be talking through tonight's NBA slate, which I don't know, feels kind of irrelevant based on everything that's been happening. That was insane last night, like just absolute complete insanity, all within the last hour before lock, basically. And some of it you didn't need to react to probably, and some of it you probably did. But boy, it's the NBA's got to do something about this before next year because they're going to lose all their customers very, very soon. It's already hard enough to win because you're playing against the top people only, basically. People don't casually play it as much as they did. And it's not even close. Like you just have more people, and then there's people who try it, but you're going to lose these people. That's why Fanduel's all of a sudden sending all these promos to try and sell out their tournaments because they can't seem to. They're just barely making the sellout line. And I don't know. The NBA is going to have to do something. If you're partnered with these sites in any way, you can't have this nonsense where there's 17 different guys announced out. Literally, so in some cases after they're announced starting, like it's just infuriating. So that's my little spiel. Sheets. Any thoughts?
Let's have some fun. What was your highest scoring lineup on DraftKings? Let's see.
No idea. I don't know.
I don't know. It's something to do. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'd have to look through 100 lineups.
You played that many? Okay.
No, in the 555 it was 330. On the FanDuel it's 402.
Dude, those are 330 is a real number.
333. Yeah, I mean it was.
You had 300, 330 in the 555. That yeah. Something, no.
79.
Okay.
That's money cashed. I mean, I had Jokic and all the right guys. I was very right on the Moody being the highest, my second favorite of the Golden State, but I don't know, man.
I was happy. I was happy to get, and he was on his way to smash, and then he kind of leveled off a little bit. I was happy to have Butler at 8%. That's what I was happy. He only ended up getting 30.
He didn't even get there.
No, I know that. I'm just saying.
I got you.
I was happy that I got him at 8%. And he was actually doing pretty well. Just the guys just kind of leveled off for me at the end, and then it was funny. If you had your standard Jordan Poole whine at halftime by the whole industry, right?
We had a guy whining yesterday about Cat. Literally, it was 2:17. 2 minutes and 17 seconds. I remember looking at it into the first quarter. He goes, "This Cat is doing nothing." Cat already had 5.5 fantasy points and 2.5.
How about Jordan Poole with like -1 at the half or something?
No, he ended up with like 24 at halftime, I think. Because
he did. It seemed like he was on his way to
that's in the second quarter, yeah. That's just what he does. He's just that kind of a player. Sorry. Same thing with Malik Beasley last night. We had the Malik Beasley moan and groan, and then Malik he got there.
I'll tell you who smashed right from beginning to end was Brandon Williams.
That was incredible. I mean, the team was so awful. They kind of had to have some people do it, but that was nuts.
So I'll tell you, by the way, who I overheard you in the Discord, and I was kind of steamed that I missed this one. Man, if I had known, I would have gotten like just as much as you got it. But he didn't do all that great, but he did well enough. I can't believe that people forgot to play Sengun yesterday. The last thing I saw when I was leaving the chat or whatever things. Oh, you said you have like a whole bunch of Sengun. And I was already locked into my lineups, and I'm like, I don't have any of him. And I'm looking, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't have him. And I really wasn't paying attention to the score, but every time I looked up at the game, I saw him doing something. And I'm like, I was wondering how he ended up. He did fine, like 6x, whatever it is. But that was a really good play by you. It just didn't quite smash the way we needed to.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into today's sheets. Why don't you share your screen and we'll go through the slate. I'm sure that there will be a lot of stuff that's happening later. Sorry for the little tilt, guys. It's just frustrating because you spend your whole day doing something and it's like, okay, well, none of that means it. Even the LeBron thing was just like weird. Like, I don't know. Anyway, let's get into it.
That was kind of a weird one, right?
Yeah, that was weird. And they, by the way, they I just hate to say this, but they actually looked for the most part much better without him. People always, anyway, that's my personal take. But all right. Let's talk about Brooklyn, Charlotte. This looks like a really good game environment. Why don't you start off with your thoughts?
Yeah. So first of all, I'd like to say it's a 6-game slate, and I'm getting some, I'm getting a pretty condensed player pool, at least at the beginning, out of these 6 games, and there's pretty seems to me kind of obvious value, which we'll talk about. And the first game you'd think would be a pretty smashy spot, right? You have Brooklyn against Charlotte, and yeah, I do like KD from Brooklyn at 11-1. And the other one is with LaMarcus Aldridge out, I'm actually getting some Nicholas Claxton on DraftKings, but on FanDuel I'm getting a bunch of Andre Drummond. Now again, it's possible that I should be getting them both on both sides. That's just what I wrote down. Is that I have KD and then Claxton on DraftKings and AD on FanDuel. And then on Charlotte, I just basically have LaMelo, and that's pretty much it. Rozier would be a secondary play.
Yeah. It's a great matchup. I've said this about 100 times before, like playing Kyrie when he's at 10K, even without Durant, was not a good idea. Like, it's just, he never gets there. Like, he'll get there once every now and then if you find a narrative, but you want to be playing him like in the low 9 range to where if he puts up 60, it actually matters. Like 60 is like, I mean, you could watch Kyrie's game log for the last however many years in every situation, whoever's playing, who's ever not. And he just doesn't do it. He might have won a season or something. So Kyrie is out for me on DraftKings. I do think on FanDuel, it's a little more, I'm open to it. It's a great game environment. And I'm just double checking to make sure I'm right about Kyrie, because I don't.
Well, first of all, by the way, if you were going to play a poorly projected Kyrie, it probably should have been in his return to Boston.
It probably should have been when Kevin Durant wasn't playing.
Well, obviously, but it didn't work out. But whatever, that was narrative city. It just didn't happen to work.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I have another guy, by the way, while you're double checking stuff that I want to bring up to you.
I'm not double. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were saying you were double checking Kyrie on something.
Oh, I'm done with it. Yeah.
What I was going to say, if you want to comment on, I'll throw this out there. Guy showed up in the first crunch of mine. At 3,900 is Goran Dragic. So I wonder what you think about that. Obviously, that's going to be dependent on probably Kyrie playing or not or whatever. But what do you think of that? What do you think of anything else?
Very highly speculative play. You're asking for what do you get from him? 20-ish minutes, maybe less. I don't know. His only game, look at all of his games, the only game he played any minutes was against his former team.
That's true.
Keep on pointing that stuff out. But I guess, to be honest with you, I think the next most interesting play would probably be one of Brown or Curry Brown or Curry, I think are kind of, I don't know. I want to see, I don't know. I need to probably do a little more digging on Brooklyn, because it's kind of hard to, because they haven't really had this situation come up very much. And will they let Drummond was Drummond going to play 10 minutes? Is he going to play 30? Probably closer to 10. So I really am confused a little bit about Brooklyn, and it's a great game environment. So it's one I'll probably have better answers for at 5:45 Eastern. I think it's that KD and Ball are my favorite plays in this game. Really like Bridges as well. And I think Oubre is a good tournament play. Terry Rozier is going to show up as the best play. I don't know about this. Like, I understand he's had some good games, but I'm going to count on him making 6. All of these big games that he's had, he's shooting about 65% from 3-point range, with the exception of the game in Memphis, which was an overtime game where he took 27 shots. And that was back in the 11th of February. I don't know, man. It feels like we should want to do more in this game, and I can't settle into anything else other than, Cody Martin's a value. Did you mention Martin?
I didn't.
I think there's some potential there, but I don't feel as excited about this as I should. So I will make a promise to have better plays from this game by 5:45 Eastern.
Well, let me also just reemphasize something. I mentioned the Andre Drummond thing. Andre Drummond is 4,500 on FanDuel. So if he's going to start somehow, if he's going to start, he's going to be super chalk. I promise you that. But like you said, if he doesn't start, he might play 10 minutes.
Well, no, I don't think it matters whether I don't think it particularly matters whether he starts or not. I assume he'll start.
How do you not play before 500 then?
He's been playing 60 because every game he plays like 15 minutes.
Okay. Even when he's starting? Okay.
He started every game. Okay. The only thing is you do have no other option tonight in the LMA.
Aldridge is out.
Yeah, that's the only thing. But he's even with Durant gone, like he wasn't getting there at this price in these matchups. So it's just up in the air, man. It's one I need to do a little more digging on because it's a really important game, and I don't have a strong feel on where I want to go yet with it. All right. Oh, this Cloudflare. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Cleveland.
So I'll start it up. So this is where it's really funny. Like I pulled up my sheets. I didn't realize what was going to be happening today. And then I saw all this Cleveland just go popping through my sheets. And I was wondering why that was. That's because both Jared Allen and LeVert are out. So all this stuff is popping, starting with Kevin Love, who's basically, I'd never seen him like this. So we got to talk about this. He looks extremely strong, as does Mobley and Markkanen and Garland. I guess an interesting question is whether it matters is whether Love even starts or not. But all four of those guys look to be really, really strong plays for me. And I don't really get to too much. I'm not really getting too much on the Indiana side. If you take a look at the Cleveland side of this.
I missed something. Why like just because Jared, I don't think there's any way Kevin Love is going to start. So I would just
well, that's why I was surprised by. I mean, I'm looking at my sheets and
there's nothing about it. Yeah, but
play. Okay.
Yeah, it's because Mobley's gone. I'm sure because Allen's out. So,
yeah.
But it doesn't. There's no. No matter what happens, Kevin Love is probably a much better play. And I don't know anybody out there that would actually think he would start here because they've had this opportunity about 100 times this year in a million different ways, and he's never started. Okay. Not once. So you'd think they'd keep him in his role, but they also have been struggling. So maybe shaking things up. That's the only way that he ends up starting, in my opinion, which will make him a better play than he looks like. The guy who'll start, I would assume, would be Osman. But all of these guys are definitely in a much better spot. I like the matchup against Indy. This game feels very stackable. So in order of my favorites, I guess I would say Love is my favorite because of the price on Garland, but by no means do I think this is too much for Garland. I keep saying this about him. The guy has a ceiling. We just saw it against Philadelphia, and his ownership is going to be kept down by this price tag. It won't be kept down as much on Fanduel where he's 8K, and I really like him over there. The weird part is I feel like he's getting too much of a boost. For like Jared Allen being out doesn't benefit him in any way. That puts another higher usage player on the court, and it takes away your lob threat, and it really doesn't do anything good for Garland. But it's being treated as if it does, and it's a huge mistake people make. So I like to stay away from those mistakes, but I also want to play a guy who's going to be lower owned on DraftKings at a high upside. So this might be one of those spots where you play Garland on DraftKings and not FanDuel. You know what I mean, Sheets? Because you get the upside and you don't want to play that middle lane because he's getting, in my opinion, too high of a projection in relation to how he's been projected every other day. That's just because Kevin Love can eat up some of the usage. The one who I'm tricky with is Markkanen because I've actually liked the way he's looked lately. His usage has been much better with Cleveland than I thought it was going to be. I think Love, Markkanen, Garland, and Mobley are all very strong. And I think I would go Love, Mobley, then Garland, then Markkanen. But they're all strong, and I think that Osman is in play as well. That'll probably depend for me whether Rondo ends up playing or not.
You mentioned it was a stackable game. Do you like anything on Indiana though?
Yeah, I think that Buddy Hield is playing so many minutes that it's just a guy who, I mean, look, he's shooting the ball not even great. I mean, 2 for 7, 1 for 10 from 3, and in those games he's putting up 40. What if he gets hot? Like, you know what I mean? He's already putting up scores we can deal with, and if he gets hot, you're looking at 50. So with the minutes, I like that, and I like Brogdon a little bit. I just feel like there's a little bit of room on this price too. I feel like, at least one of he or Hield should have a nice game here. So I'm kind of interested in both those guys actually. And Halliburton's a little bit pricey. It's a bad matchup in general for all these guys, but not as bad of a matchup as it was. So I'm open to all the other guys. It's hard to play roulette with the front court, and I want to see if Duarte is playing before I commit to anything. But I would be considering taking shots on Jalen Smith or Isaiah Jackson, potentially even Brissett. I just want to see whether Duarte is playing, whether Batatse is playing, and whether Stevenson's playing before I decide on any other pieces than Hield and Brogdon.
So from a construction perspective, I think that the Cleveland Indiana game is very similar to me to the Phoenix Orlando game for this reason. And we've talked about this a lot over the last couple of years. We've been doing this. Is that when you have guys on the one side of the game that project really well and really, really strong values, but maybe guys on the other side of the game don't all project that great, it's probably still a good idea to play the guys on the other side of the game, even though they don't project that great, because probably their ownership are going to be low, and just in the name of stacking correlation. That's why I was asking you about the Indianas, because I love these Clevelands, but none of the Indianas look that great. But you know what? That's in a way a good thing, that to keep your ownership low. And for me, it's very similar with the Phoenix Orlando game, because these guys are still way too cheap for Phoenix. You have Payne, Ayton, Shamet, Crowder, for example. Those are four right off the bat for me. And yet, even though, on the Orlando side, I don't have anything that stands out that great, probably supposed to do something, right? So even though, for example, Wendell Carter doesn't look like the greatest player in the world, or maybe Cole Anthony doesn't look like the greatest player in the world, I think we're waiting to hear maybe something on Jalen Suggs. Is that possible? I mean, if that's the case, then we'll make decisions a little easier, I guess. Franz Wagner, I mean.
Suggs is going to be out.
Who is? Suggs?
That's my guess. I don't
Okay. So I mean, that'll give some uses to some a couple of these guys. But I think that I think that's what you should do. I mean, you should play some Phoenix guys, and then on the Orlando side, even if a guy's not projecting all that great, just in the name of keeping the game close and correlating, I'd probably take a shot at one of those guys.
Totally agree. All right, Phoenix, Orlando. What do you got here? Because it's going to be pretty hard not to play Cameron Payne on DraftKings.
Yeah, that's what I just said. For the Phoenix, Orlando, I like Payne, Ayton, Shamet, and Crowder. And then again, from Orlando, I'm having trouble finding a good run back, but I figure we should just try it anyway by doing something like Carter or Wagner or something like that.
Yeah, so from the Phoenix side, I like. I mean, everybody is in play as always, as we've seen pretty much every time. Payne is going to be really hard to fade on DraftKings, and will also probably be 80+% owned. In the high buy-ins, and the lower buy-ins probably more in the 65-70% range. Everybody else is in play. I really am surprised by the projection on Ayton being as low as it is. I know that he can have some real down games, but I do like him here. It's a good matchup, and it seems a little too cheap. A little too low projection, which should keep his ownership more manageable. Between Crowder, Shamet, all these other guys, like I guess Shamet. It feels weird to play the chalk Shamet still. Like, I mean, you see the range of outcomes. He's had one game over 19, but it was 31. That's pretty good for 3,700. So I don't mind Shamet or Crowder. Man, it's so hard without my guy Cam Johnson here. I don't know what to do. I guess we're supposed to play two or three of them. I think Payne, Ayton, then Crowder, then Shamet for me. And I don't mind mixing in a little bit of Aaron Holiday, but also Bridges is in play as well. So I don't mind any of those guys, but that's the order I would have them in.
So I wanted to tout something. So Mark kind of updated our site pretty substantially, where you're able to get the projections and sheets all kind of in one place. And the reason why I kind of bring it up is, again, the sheets on there kind of aggregate the projections like across the industry, and they kind of weight them a certain way. And what's cool about that is let's say you only have access to one kind of site, you might end up with kind of like this weird outlier. And like, for example, like you brought up, like, why is the DeAndre Ayton like so low? I mean, I know you like to look at RG, whatever. And I'm looking at my projections, and I have like 5 different places. One is 45, one is 45, one is 45, one is 45. And RG's sitting there with 35, right? Not ready to update yet. And that's why, like, if somebody just looks at like this one site, they might say, what the hell's going on over here?
Yep.
That's why it's kind of cool. Like, when I do the stuff in the background, I kind of like look at that and say, ooh, so I would say, Bobby, it's like that projection is going to move. That's going to move alongside the rest of the industry. So the rest of the industry is not alongside that 35. The rest of the industry is more like in the low to mid 40s, and he's going to be really popular. I wouldn't get my hopes up.
Yeah, I would say the projection around 35, that would be make him low. But if he's higher, then he's probably a good fade. Honestly, if you're projecting him at 45, then absolutely you're not going to play a 70% on DeAndre Ayton too much. I don't think. And so, that's probably right about where he'd check out. Orlando side, I like. I think Suggs is going to be out, so it brings everybody into play. Cole Anthony on Fanduel is finally 6K, but he's still a really good play. And I really like Wagner. I think Carter is my favorite, but Wagner and Wagner would be right after him with maybe you can think about it, Okiki Abamba. It's kind of harder with those guys versus the similar price like Crowder on Phoenix, for example. So I think it's Anthony Carter and Wagner is my favorite, but I don't mind getting a little exposure to the other guys in a good, it's a better game environment than it was with Chris Paul. I mean, literally 3 of their top six out. So I definitely think this is a good game to target. New Orleans, Memphis. What do you got?
Not much. I have maybe Ja and a very, very thin secondary value in Brandon Clark. But aside from that, I really don't have that much in this game.
Yeah, it's interesting to have the game with this total and just not really like want too much from it. I'm trying to, so this is a former team thing too, and I'm pretty sure that last time that it's definitely hasn't gone Joe Val's way yet. His price is a little bit interesting to me. I know it hasn't been like the most exciting thing, but on FanDuel maybe more so. He's still been at 39 or better in 3 of his last 4. In 5 of his last 6. I think that he's a good play on FanDuel. I guess that's my first thought is with Joe Val, but everybody else just sort of feels fine. I'm okay with Ingram. I'm okay if you want to take a shot on McCollum in this kind of game environment. I don't particularly love either of them, but I think Desmond Bane might be my favorite play in this game on DraftKings. I don't know. I'm not really all that excited about this game either, and it feels like a game we usually want to like take some shots in because it's going to be a high total. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll end up with a McCollum or an Ingram, but I don't really love this game environment. I think Ja is going to be low owned at 10.7, and as we always mention, like that's usually worth like taking a shot on, but I don't think today I'm going to. I just don't think I think there's other spots I like better.
Hey, can I ask you, just want to go back, it's a short slate. Just go back to the Cleveland game for a second. If Markkanen, Mobley, and Love are looking like the 3 best plays, are you worried? Not worried, but should you make sure not to play like more than 2 of them together? I mean, aren't they going to be fighting for rebounds or something like that? I'm just kind of just like.
I don't think just in general, I don't think you'd ever want the entire front court on one lineup.
Right. Okay.
Usually not a good strategy. Now, probably could get there in this situation, but.
Okay.
Yeah, I maybe not all 3 in the same lineup. Yeah.
Can you play 2, you think?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You want to move on to Milwaukee, OKC?
Yep.
So for me, there's pretty clear decisions here. So first of all, I want to start with OKC. So first of all, Shea is always a good play nowadays. In a fast-paced matchup, and God forbid the game can stay close. I mean, you certainly want him. That's one thing. Second thing is that this Isaiah Roby business. So the last game he played, I was a little worried because I didn't know whether that game before was just kind of like an outlier nonsense game, but he played 37 minutes right back again after that and had a very, very nice game. Now he's questionable, so we have to keep an eye on that. But if he's not questionable, he remains playing. I mean, I think we should kind of ride these minutes for a while. The other thing is that on the Milwaukee side, with Grayson Allen out, there's a huge value play showing up right now in Jordan Nwora. And it's something we have to really think about. It's these. I know you've been on him all season from now.
Not all season. No. All his career. Not. I
didn't even know he played last year.
Yeah, I didn't have much interest in him mostly this year. Just
so he's if he starts at 4,100, whatever, you got to really think about that. Maybe even if he comes off the bench. But Giannis, from just a raw points perspective, is just he projects to score just a lot of fantasy points. So the only thing that could stop him from smashing is his is the team blowing the other team out, as we talked about. If they blow him out, in part it's because he had a good game anyway. So I think Giannis is kind of a tough fade here, both on DraftKings and on FanDuel. So I like that. And then so it's Giannis and a decision on Nwora, who's going to show up as probably the second best value play on the slate behind Payne. And then Shea Roby from OKC.
Yeah, I'm not very interested in this game. I'll have some interest if Roby's out again, which he did miss the last game. So I think we should lean more towards that he's, well, I don't know what we should lean more towards, to be honest with you. It could go either
Oh,
way.
he didn't play Sunday. Okay.
Yeah. But that would open up some interest for me on the OKC side of it. As of right now, I guess my favorite OKC play would be Poku. He's been consistent and good, which is something you don't usually hear with him. But he's taking shots. He's been rebounding the hell out of the ball, and feels like a decent 6-ish-X type of spot. Good game environment for him. Definitely some blowout risk, which could end up with him on the bench, but it could end up with him out there too. They sort of give him his minutes. I don't think there's, even if Roby plays, I don't think you should ever really project anybody on OKC outside of Shea above 30 minutes. I mean, nothing changes for the situations, and the guys just play a ton of minutes sometimes. It's just what happens. You can choose to play that roulette game. I'm probably not going to. If Roby plays, I would take a shot or two on him, but I would assume him to be about 30 minutes, not higher than that. Now, he could definitely play more. There's upside on that. But what I'm saying is there's definitely as much downside on it too. It could be 26 minutes, especially if you factor in foul trouble, and they're playing all these other weird guys, their minutes too. So I don't know. It just feels like a little bit like tricky to know what to do there. It feels very weird to have a guy who maybe end up as chalky with Nuora here. If he's not more than 25% owned, I'm absolutely going to be really interested. If he gets higher than that, you're looking at a kind of a funky situation here. I don't know. It's just there's a lot of ways for him not to get there. I mean, what does it matter? What is he going to do starting with Bobby Portis, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Giannis? Like they're usage monsters, like all of them. So I don't know how much he'll be able to do, but there will be times where those guys aren't in the game. And if he's going to play, if we think he'll play 30 minutes, I think that's interesting. I don't know. I'm open to Nuora, but I'm not as excited about this game. Don't really, as of right now, don't have any interest really in Giannis. Don't have any interest really in a Holiday or Middleton. That's very possible to change if more value opens up. I think they're all fine. I have them all as completely fine plays who I think are probably going to end up a lot more at 5X than they are anywhere higher, which is fine. But it's not my favorite thing to do on the slate. So I'll take a shot with Nuora as of right now. But if we get some value opening up later on, we have some, but if we get more, because I really like Durant and LaMelo, and I want to get exposure to that first game. So it's going to be harder for me to play Durant.
Well, that's the question, right? That seems to be the seminal question: Durant versus Giannis, I imagine.
Yeah, and it's a big price difference. It's not, you know what I mean, nothing. It's 900.
Yeah.
Right? And the median should always go to Giannis in these situations, but this matchup is hard for me to ignore, and I personally think the spread is too low on the OKC Milwaukee game. I think it should be I think this is one that should be closer to 18 or 20.
What is it, 15?
It's 13 and a half, which is actually kind of crazy low. Yeah, so that's where I'm at for this one. What do you got in the late night hammer, the island game?
Yeah, so Looney still projects pretty nicely at 6.5X or so. He's never too exciting, but there's that. Poole still projects at about 6X right now, even with Curry coming back at 5,300. Kuminga still projects almost about 6X at 4,200. And then, Curry's back, and I don't know, I think better ways to spend my money than on him. And the only guy I'm actually getting on the Clippers is Amir Coffey, and just barely. So that's kind of where I'm at. Even though it's an island game, and I'd like to kind of be around to root for it. I don't know what I'm doing there.
Yeah, it's the Clippers are just, it's feels like another game of a little bit of roulette. Try to guess, minutes and rotations and usage and all that. They have a lot of bodies. They've been spreading out the minutes. It's really worked for them. Everybody, I mean, I've heard some other guys on other shows, Sheets, talk crap about Ty Lue and how horrible he's been this year, because
why the guy's like coach of the year almost.
Literally been the best. Nobody has done a better coaching job in my opinion this year. Than he has done. This team has no business being over 500 or anywhere near 500 for that matter. I don't know. He's done a really good job, but it is incredible how the minutes have really balanced out, and they've got a lot of bodies. So I'm kind of inclined to do the same as you. If I was going to take a shot, it'd probably be Kennard or Batum. But it's tough, man. And on the other side, I guess Looney, but like, man, at this ownership, do we want to go with it? Like, it feels kind of crazy, and it feels weird that on a back-to-back, his projection moved up. And this guy has plenty of 5 fantasy point games or 10 fantasy point games, whatever. And mostly he's going to be right around 20. So I think he's fine. I just don't think it's like anything, like you said, not to be too excited about, but I think he's fine. And I'm not really interested in the rest of this game. Kind of a strange slate for me because I'm more interested in the early games than I am the later games. And I usually try to make myself not go that direction, but it's kind of hard for me right now. And I also think the ownership being a little bit lower on some of these early spots are things that I want to take advantage of.
By the way, just to throw out there, because this was a Sunday slate, nobody noticed it. When Roby sat out, the aforementioned Olivier Sarr did come in for 9x.
Came in for 9x, but he had to be in credit. I mean, he'll be the massive chalk if he plays, but he only played 20 minutes. His minutes
I know.
So he's in play.
Hey, but he'll do 1 rebound away from the bonus. Could have gotten a little more.
Maybe if they would have played him more than 20 minutes.
Well, he wasn't efficient though. He's only 4 of 9. I mean,
well, when is it? So you think? But he took 9.
Why is he taking 4 threes? Who is this dude? Oh my God.
That's what he does. Anyway, but he took.
I don't want God. Who is that guy? That big 7-foot fat guy that took all the threes for Atlanta or something. Was it Atlanta? Who the hell was it? We played him at $3K or 3,200. All he would do is just sit back and he wouldn't get rebounds and just shoot freaking threes. And now I forget his name. Might have been 00. God,
I can't remember who it was. I'll probably remember it by later today.
Atlanta, I think he was on Atlanta. I think he was either 0 or 00. And he just sat there and he took freaking threes. I'm like, what do you do? And all right, well, I'm gonna invent this. I'm gonna figure this out. Anyway,
I do think Stassar is in play, and I probably should have mentioned that earlier. But
okay. Well, presuming obviously that he puts things out.
Yeah, but he's sort of getting the same minute run anyway. It's not.
Yeah, he's in the teens every game.
Yeah, and there's blowout risk, which could have put him up over 20. I mean,
hey, centers against Milwaukee.
Yeah, there you go. All right, I'll be here at 5:45. Sheets, you're going to be around at 6.
I will indeed.
Excellent, guys. It's a kind of a weird slate. I'm going to try and do a little more digging on that Brooklyn Charlotte situation, and hopefully have better stuff for you by tonight. And yeah, we're making a lot of site improvements. So if you see it down for a minute here and there, it'll be back up the next minute. We just are trying to get a lot of site stuff done. And shout out to Mark and Evan and Kenny for all this work. Mark's really done a great job with us lately. So, all right, guys, good luck to everyone tonight. And we'll hopefully see one of you guys at the top of the leaderboards.